In case you don't know, we use Anchor to distribute our podcast. We love it because it's free, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. There's no minimum listenership to start earning money, if that's a goal for your podcast. And everything you need to make a podcast is in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started creating your own podcast. We're doing the thing.
Yes, we're doing the thing.
Okay.
After, 3 years?
So I've been telling everybody 3 years. I'm really hoping that it is actually 3 years and I'm not lying to people.
I think that you're right. I think that it is 3 years.
First time was...
Yeah, so I think a bunch of things happened, all at that time.
Because you also were going to grad school.
Right, I had started grad school.
Yep.
You were appointed to the city council. And so then we just spent a bunch of time talking about money.
Mm-hmm.
And both how we didn't have enough of it and how we needed to learn how to manage what we had better.
Yes. And also in that time, you just had a baby, right?
Well, yeah, so Ada, listeners will learn more about as we go along, was this... So when I started my master's degree, she was 9 months old.
Okay, yep.
So she still was a pretty new human being
at
that point in time. And then over the course of my master's degree, of course, I had another baby.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the school and working full time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do feel like it has been 3 years that we've been talking about doing this. We've come back to it.
Right.
At least once a year, every time since then. And this is just the first time that we've both had enough time.
Yeah.
That we could do it. So that's kind of cool.
Yes. But I feel also in those 3 years, right, it wasn't just nothing, and then, hey, we should do this thing.
Yeah.
Right? In between the times, right, we were talking about, right, I'm trying this thing to manage my money.
Mm-hmm.
I guess mostly you were trying new things, and then I was, piggybacking onto, okay, so should I try this, Dave Ramsey's,
yeah,
whatever he had before every dollar that now I can't remember what it's called, but you loved it.
I'm sure someone somewhere knows what it was called, or I'll remember it later on, and I can add it to something. But I do remember It was the best budget tool that ever existed, and I'm still very upset that it's no longer a thing. So Dave Ramsey or people that work for Dave Ramsey, if you hear this, still know that I'm upset about it.
Oh, and then every dollar, which it came out with afterwards,
yes,
and the You Need a Budget guides with Undead.
Yes, love Undead It still.
Yes.
Huge shout out to the guy that runs Undead It. He is phenomenal because as far as I know, and again, someone probably knows more than I do about it, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is one person who runs that project as a side hustle. I don't even think it's a side hustle per se. I think it's just straight up he does that as a passion project. I don't know that he makes anything off of it monetarily other than he just enjoys helping people manage,
get out of debt.
Yeah, get out of their debt, which is super cool. Yeah, most recently it's been You Need a Budget for me. I still use Every Dollar because I'm still understanding how to use You Need a Budget, but those are definitely a few of many many tools that have been used.
And I tried Mint for a while. Didn't love it.
No.
And I'm a huge nerd, and I've got my Excel spreadsheet that I've been using, but I've also recently started using Every Dollar. Okay. And I really like it because it's easy to carry your budget over from one month to the next.
It is.
And the interface is super intuitive.
It really is. It's very user-friendly.
Nice.
It is. It's very user-friendly, and I appreciate that. There are definitely huge perks to it. There are some things about it that I have not liked, and I have been very honest with you specifically over the years about that that tool. But in combination, in my opinion, with Undead It, every dollar is probably the best option right now. I will say, with the caveat of I did go into this last round of you need a budget and working with that, which for the sake of simplicity from now on, I'm just going to call it YNAB, which is kind of like...
Right, because it's the acronym
yep.
for...
Yeah. I really have given it a pretty fair shake this time, and I do think that it is panning out better. But I also think that could just be a combination of it is a good tool, but I also think a big part of it is that I'm in a place in my life right now where it is a good tool, where every dollar is, I do feel like, your best starter budget tool. It is the easiest to use, where YNAB focuses on aging your money, which is I do think important, but I also think that when you are coming into working with finances and not really having a lot of experience with personal finance, focusing on that age, I think, is just another stressor.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and I think that you need a budget that, or like whatever tool you use for your budget, you should use a tool of some sort. It needs to fit into your life, right? Like a budget shouldn't stress you out.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're not going to use it.
Right, and it's there to make your life easier. So if it's not making your life easier, then it's not working. And there are a whole bunch of reasons that, people of the same age, which of course you and I are,
right,
might be in different places with, wanting to grow your money, which is what YNAB is for. We're like, of course, at the beginning we talked about me having babies, and I've got 3 kids. So, like, until they're all out of daycare and out of diapers, I'm not aging my money.
No.
Right?
No.
Like, because all of those things are super expensive, and it seems a different topic for a different day, but extremely unfair that you have babies and start your career kind of at the same time. Like, I feel like you should start out making like a buttload of money, and then your pay like slowly decreases over time. Right, because like having kids usually means accruing a ton of debt.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that, like, you kind of nailed it when you said, we're the same age, but we have very different financial situations. You have 3 children. I have no children. I own my home. You rent.
Right.
And I think that kind of really nicely brought it around to another reason that we started this endeavor to begin with. Was, for me, I have been interested in personal finance going on 8 years now.
Right.
This has been
a while.
It has been. It's been a focus for me for almost a decade, because the background that I came from was, I didn't know anything about personal finance. I seriously, I didn't know how much I made. I didn't know where my car payment was sent to. I made negative money in a month, and I didn't even know that until I really took a step back and realized this was something that I needed to learn. But one of the things that I really started to get upset about when I got involved in this community was the amount of shame that was placed on people who had different situations.
Yes.
I don't think that looking at somebody who has kids or who doesn't have kids, who's in debt or isn't out of debt, or who owns a home or doesn't own a home, like, it's not my place to sit there and judge you. My goal in life is to help somebody. If I just help one person, cool.
Right.
That's great. But to tell people that they're not doing things right because they have some...
like a different life from you. Right.
That was, for me, the amount of shame that was placed on people for making different decisions was really a struggle. And I wanted to create a space that was more accepting and more focused on education and providing resources than providing yet another feeling of inadequacy.
Right. Because that has also really frustrated me about the space, is that I feel like every single person that's out there says that my way is the only right way to do your money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, even within the, right, like taking in my own life, right, there's a ton of people out there who are like, okay, if you've got kids, this is how you do your money. Right. And it's like, I would consider myself to be a pretty crunchy parent in many ways, because it's easier, right? Like, baby wearing is easier. Mm-hmm. Co-sleeping often is just easier, right? Like, it's just the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. One thing is not cloth diapering, right? And I see in a lot of, like, family personal finance spaces, like, if you really want to save your money, cloth diaper your kids. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, yes, it's true, right? It does save you a lot of money in the long run. And it saves the planet because you're not throwing away a bunch of diapers. Right. But if you want to look at the time involved, it's not for everyone. Mm-mm. Or to talk, I mean, I don't know. I feel like when you, with the kid piece, a lot of the stuff that people recommend that you do to save money with your kids is so time intensive, right? Like, don't buy special baby food, just make your own baby food. Or cloth diaper, make your own wipes, do all the laundry, like, grow your own garden that's big enough to feed your family. Like, okay, how many people out there are a dual income household because they need to be for a variety of reasons? You don't have time for that kind of stuff, but then you go, like, okay, I need to figure out how to manage my money better with kids. And that's all that you see. And that's not okay. Right. Right, or like, you know, if you have people without kids, and I think maybe we'll talk about this later, like on another episode, but there's like that whole FIRE community, like, to retire early. Okay, well, maybe you don't want to be miserable in a job that you hate for 5 or 10 years so that you can retire at 35. Right. You know, or 40. Like, you want to be happy in the meantime. Right. And you can't say, oh, yeah, no, everybody should do this thing. Like, no, everybody shouldn't do that thing. Right. So, I feel like that hits on another piece of what drove us to starting this, which was, I looked at the personal finance community, the debt-free community, and not only did I see a lot of shame attached to it, but I also felt like there were not families that looked like mine there. Like, yes. I don't have children, but I'm still very mindful of our finances and wanting to become debt-free. But we both work. I do not have time to meal plan and prep and put away freezer meals and all of those things as much as I would love to. It just doesn't work. Now, do I technically have the time? Absolutely. Do I dedicate that time? No. That's just not realistic for me and my family. Right. It could be, but it's just not. It's never going to be, because I'm not that person. I'm not that motivated. Props to those who are and who have that, but after I get done with all of the things that I have to do in a week for work and other personal obligations, I just don't have the energy to put towards that. It's just not my thing. So, looking at people who were coming out with these boot camps and all of these things saying, like, I can save you $600 in groceries a month, I'm like, first of all, how much are you spending on groceries in a month if you can save $600? Like, okay. But it just, to me, it was a struggle because it didn't fit my life. And
and there were so many times that I would be doing really well with the personal finance stuff, and then I would backslide because I felt like I wasn't doing enough, like I wasn't good enough. And so instead of continuing to work and try to be better, I just gave up because I wasn't fitting that Instagram life.
Right.
So I just was like, this isn't good enough. Also, disclaimer to anybody out there listening to this, I have a little bit of a potty mouth, so this is this is definitely for mature audiences. Like, this is your warning. I will definitely drop an F-bomb at some point, and I'm sorry, but it's
also
gonna happen.
Not sorry.
Also not, yeah. It's gonna happen. But I would just, like, getting so frustrated with not fitting that Instagram lifestyle, I would give up. So then I would get to a point where we weren't making any progress. Like, we weren't getting any more in debt, but we weren't getting any more out of debt. And it was so frustrating. So
right.
I would say fuck it until the next time it came around that I had the energy to put into feeling like I can actually do this. Like, I can do all of those things that these people say that I should be doing, and I'll be debt free in no time at all. And I think that's another struggle. Like, there are definitely benefits to becoming debt free. Like, there absolutely are. But this is not a race. Like, you are in competition with nobody. Do what works best for you and your family.
Yes.
So for us, we do what we can every month to pay down that debt as soon as possible. But we have fun. We live our life. We still eat out every once in a while, and I know this is going to really piss some people off, but every once in a while, I get caribou.
No.
I know. And I like it. So there's that. So it's little things like that. Like, I feel like it's almost, the harder you try to cut all of those things out of your life, the worse it is when you come back to it.
Well, right, the whiplash back into it is just like, yeah, I don't know, you go from having none of it to having all of it all of the time.
Yeah. It's just, it's like this, like, it's like this yo-yo, and it's horrible. Yeah. So if you can just, like, find what works for you, and know that the first thing that you try is definitely not going to work the first time. And it may not work the first, 5th, 20th time, but find something that works. I tried every budget tool that was out there, I think, over the course of the last 8 years.
I think you're right.
I feel like I can honestly say that. And again, you know, if there's someone somewhere out there listening that's like, well, you didn't try my thing, that's absolutely perfect, let me know. Get a hold of me. I am absolutely willing to try things. I will be very honest about how I feel about it. But I tried it all. And that included spreadsheets. I mean, I built my spreadsheets. I bought my spreadsheets. I tried spreadsheets forever, and it just didn't work for me. So finding what works best for you is huge.
Yes. Yes, it is. And I think we already talked about this a little bit, but ditching that guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I for both of us, okay, I'm just going to keep talking for a minute. I think our hope for you listening to this is that this can be a space where you ditch that guilt also. Because the things that you do that are going to work for you might not make sense to somebody else. I'll just throw out an example. Of course, it's been a while since I've taken my kids running errands with me because we're living in COVID times and it's not, it isn't safe to take them out. But in normal times, so I will also say I use grocery delivery, but I still have to go to Target to buy diapers and stuff like that. So when I bring my kids with me, for the sake of my own sanity and the sanity of every single shopper in that store, we will stop at Starbucks before we begin our shopping trip, and everybody gets a cake pop. Like, and since we're there and I like coffee, I also get a coffee. And at this point, if I have all 3 kids with me, it's usually a $12 stop. I might tell somebody, okay, yes, I have this built-in $12 expense every single time I go to Target. And if I can't afford it, then I don't bring my kids. But I just build it in.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody might think that I'm nuts, but that works for my life.
Mm-hmm.
If I just know if I spend that $13, we can buy diapers without anybody having a meltdown. And that's just the way that it rolls. So hopefully this can also be that space for you. That if somebody tells you that you're bonkers, well, probably you're not, and there's a reason that you're doing the thing that you are doing.
Right. I think that when we first started talking about this, wanting to create a space that was accepting, but also had people that had lives that looked like ours, was a huge piece of it. Yeah. Wanting to get away from that Instagram perfect life. Now, not saying that those people, that there's anything wrong with them, because there's not. They do, you do you, man. Like, I'm all about that. If that works for you, continue and thrive. I'm happy for you. But that is not my life. No. And wanting to show people that you can do this imperfectly and still make progress, screw up, and have people that weren't sitting there waiting in the comments to tell you what you should have done instead. Because, like, let's be real here. I don't think that there is a single one of us that sits back and thinks to themselves, man, I screwed up and I don't know how I could have done that better.
Right.
Like, we all know. We know.
Yeah, or, I mean, alternatively, I think we also know when we have actually done our best, and maybe it just didn't pan out in the way that we were expecting. And you also don't need some jackass coming to you in the comments. Like, no. People on the internet don't know all the circumstances of your life.
Right.
And they don't have any right to.
Mm-mm.
If you want to share that, that's cool. But if you don't, that's cool too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Did we kind of cover all of the things that got us here? Is there anything else you can think of?
The only other thing that I would add, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh man, these guys sound like they've never had any problems ever. Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. So, like, when we are talking about money and the things that we've tried and, like, really letting go of judgment, just know that we have also been there and we've done that work and we are still doing that work and we're just kind of sharing that journey with you now, too.
And thankfully had each other through a decent portion of that journey. Rachel and I have been friends for...
like 13 years.
Like 13 years. So most of our adult lives.
Yeah.
So thankfully having somebody there who is supportive, is not judgmental, applauds you on your triumphs, and also holds your hand through those struggles is super important. So we would love to hold your hand through those struggles and applaud you through those triumphs. Now, we can't be that person for everybody, but we can, I think
we can for a lot of people. Reach out to us if you need some help.
Yes.
We're glad to give it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we
covered it all.
Solid. Go us.
Go team.
So, thanks for listening. If you made it through this, and hopefully you did, make sure to tune in for new episodes. And if there's anything that you would like us to cover, let us know. If we don't know, if it's not in our area of knowledge, we'll do some research, and if we aren't comfortable covering it, we'll be super honest about it and point you in the direction of some resources. But we're pretty open to,
like, kind of whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, just for when you do want to reach out with questions or what have you, we are on Facebook and Twitter.
We are also on Instagram.
Oh, I forgot. Thank you.
Yes. We haven't really used it much yet, but we do have it, so. And I follow quite a few finance blogs on the Twitter and the Instagram page, so if you are a personal finance blogger and you would like to reach out to us with the resources that you have provided to people, or if you have any suggestions for us, let us know. We would be happy to follow, and if we have anything that we think would be super awesome to share with our listeners, we would love to.
Yes.
All right.
So I think signing off, this is Rachel.
And this is Cheyenne.